What's up, guys? Legacy 404 and Off-Road here. We're putting the engine together. We're putting the drivetrain together. Who am I kidding? We're going engine, transmission, transcase, and it's going to be hung in the 38 Chevy by the end of this video. Alright, y'all, so it's been a while. I know it's been 2 weeks, which is a while because I told you I do every week on this project, but I had to wait on parts. I got all of my adapters, I picked up the engine, transmission, everything else, and it's ready to get installed in the 5.3. I got the 5.3, you saw a sneak peek. I did end up tearing the wiring harness off already, and the front pulley belt, or the front fan with the clutch. Oh my God, is that a fun project? It was just kind of boring, didn't feel like including it. I also already have the bell housing and the flywheel and the pilot bushing installed. So with that being said, we're gonna pick up right here. I am going to dial indicate the flywheel to the bell housing to make sure it's perfectly aligned, perfectly concentric with the input shaft of the transmission. Then we're gonna make some motor mounts, then we're gonna make some transmission mounts, and then we're gonna throw it in the 38 Chevy. So I will be back when this is dial indicated and we are ready to go. All right, just got done with the dial indicator. I had plus 10 on the left side, so 9 o'clock. I had minus 26 on 6 o'clock, and I had plus 19 on the 3 o'clock. So what that means is my bell housing is off-centered 9 thousandths to the right. That should be thousandths, not hundredths. It's off-centered 9 thousandths to the right and 0.6 thou to the bottom. What that means is that I have to get offset dowels. I'm gonna go with 14 thousandth offset dowels, and I'm going to knock these dowels out and then put those new dowels in and angle them up, or mostly up, and a little bit to the left to compensate for the bell housing, and then we'll remeasure. So I'll be back in a week when I get those dowels in the mail. I got it all in. I'm just now about to plug up the exhaust and all the covers on the transmission and everything else, all the seals, cover them up, and get to cleaning and painting it. I'm just gonna go flat black for all of it. Nothing special, nothing pretty, just, you know, Fonzie. Ah, ain't she beautiful? Brand new, professionally rebuilt. No, I hope this works. I didn't test, I tested by turning the input shaft, obviously. So I know the transfer case can go into neutral and 4 and 2. I know that, so I know that spins, so hopefully it all works. Not really sure if it does or not. So that's what it is. Anyways, time to jump back in and catch you guys up on what I've done. So I don't really remember all the video I took. I just remember that I put the flywheel on, then the clutch, then the pressure plate, then the bell housing on the transmission. Then I put the transmission, or put the bell housing and the transmission onto the engine. That was fun. That was always fun. It's always a massive struggle, especially when you're dealing with an SM465. I mean, there's just the main shaft is like 100 pounds. You know, it's just a heavy hunk that you have to slide in. Luckily, I did the wrong thing the right way, and I threaded in some longer bolts that were same pitch, and I was able to shimmy it in until the dowel was lined up. Then I used the ARP bolts, put some Loctite on them, called it good. So that all got connected. I took it out, put it on the cherry picker. You know, the also air ram on the cherry picker. Amazing, gotta have it, never gonna live without it. But took it out, put it on the cherry picker, lifted it up, cleaned it off as best as I could with a screwdriver and a water. Don't have a pressure washer, so yep, best as I could. Spray painted it, and yeah, I'm gonna let that dry overnight because I did about 4 coats with 15 minutes in between. So I'm gonna let that dry overnight, and tomorrow I'm gonna get to hanging the whole drivetrain in the car and seeing where I need to put the transmission mount and the engine mounts and making the engine mounts and the transmission mount. So that'll be tomorrow. Yeah, maximum sketch engaged. I Sherry Jim, the Jim Jab, flip flop, and I don't know what I did to get in. I had a lot of ratchet straps, a lot of tie downs, a lot of jacks, a lot of physics, a lot of counterweights, a lot of chalk blocks to put the axles on. I had to take the tires off in the front because I couldn't get the frame low enough to fit the engine hoist with the leveling arm with the roof of my little garage. So wheels are off, it's low. Sitting on a jack stand on the front axle up front. There is just so much sketchiness going on with this setup, but you know what? It's in, it's even. I think the next thing I want to do is get the transmission crossmember bolted in. Transmission crossmember is in. As you can tell, it is sitting by itself. All I did was measure how big of a gap I needed to drop to fit the front drive shaft properly. All I did was use some 2x2 square and some bolts and a little bit extra spacers to match the width of the frame. So it's pretty much just like a spacer, you know, for the frame. And for the actual mounts going to the crossmember for the transfer case and transmission, I had body pucks from the CJ5. I'm like an Indian, you know? I'm just reusing and reusing until it works. So body pucks from the CJ5, I cut those to 1 3/4 inches. That was the proper height that I measured. And that's what I used to mount it. And those just mount right to the crossmember. This is also the stock crossmember from the CJ5. That's why it matches the frame width perfectly. In case you can't tell, everything is solid mounted. The whole vehicle is gonna be solid mounted, no bushings, nothing. All right, coming up next, I get to take the crane away and prop up the front of the engine, get the angle perfectly right. I think like 3 degrees leaning towards the back to, you know, for the intake on the carb intake to equal out with the carburetor to make it flat is what you're looking for. So gonna measure that, equal that out, take these bushings off, or these polyurethane metal mounts off the engine, make my own plates with those, form a little bracket on the side of the frame, going in, make motor mounts, and that's gonna be kabang, bomb, done. was a long 3 days of work I just did right there. But it is done. The 5.3, the SM465, 205 is all made together, and it's all mounted in the 38 Chevy. So yes, let's talk about how I mounted the engine real quick. So the engine is solid mounted. So I know I have that super high density poly mounts for the transmission. Those aren't gonna flex. They're pretty much the same as solid mounts. They just add a little tiny, teensy little bit of adaptability to not break cases in the transmission and stuff. So I know people do run the high density poly with the solid mount up front. I know it runs before, so I'm not too worried about breaking anything in terms of having the front solid mounted and the back mounted on high density polyurethane. With that being said, I solid mounted the front. I just used 2 pieces of 3/16 plate. I cut them to size, put those plates on the engine. That way, all I had to do was weld those plates to the frame. So I just used some 2x4, made a pie cut, and used those for the arm, and then welded that directly to the plates on the engine while the engine was in the car, sitting at the perfect level. Yeah guys, that was it. I'm really excited. It was a giant step I just took, putting the drive chain in. It's super motivating. I don't know what I'm gonna do next, but I know it's gonna be another big step. It's gonna be suspension or floors and bodywork. So I will catch you guys next time. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, because this 38 project's turned into a real fun one. I tell you what, it's a real fun one, and I'm really excited about it.